Okay, so it's Todd Atkins, and I'm here with Dean Thomas. I first met Dean in Hawaii when he was fighting Super Brawl against Stephen Bozo Pauling. So, what year was that? Do you remember?
Oh my God, that had to be what, 2000, maybe 2000 or 2001.
Yeah, a long time ago. So
Yeah, that
let's
was
kind of,
man, it's 20, what was that, 20 years ago?
yeah,
Dog, we've been in this game for 20 years. Can you believe that?
yeah, it's kind of scary. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I mean longer than 20. Because that was like Super Brawl was a big show back then. So like we've been involved with the big show for over 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun to kind of go back and talk to some people that have been around for that long.
Yeah, man, like if you could find them and they ain't too punch drunk. I feel like I'm getting there too. So like if I slur some words or I say something stupid, just blame it on me being punch drunk.
Well, let's kind of, if people, maybe there's people out there that aren't familiar with you, let's kind of start back in time because I know you were kind of teaching yourself in the beginning, right?
Yeah, I mean, back then, like nowadays, like you could throw a rock and you'll hit a school. You'll hit a MMA school or jiu-jitsu school, a kickboxing place. But back then wasn't nothing. All we had were videotapes and desire. So like we had to teach ourselves. So like we got videotapes. I used to go to a lot of seminars, but we used to, videotapes, and we used to just get in the grass, man, and get dirty. That's how we learned.
And what were some of the sets you remember watching?
Oh my God, I used to Henzo Gracie, Craig Kukok, Mario Sperry. Uh, I had the Oleg Taktarov.
The
Who else
Boss
I
Rutan
had?
ones were popular too, I think.
I had the Boss Rutan. I had the Boss Rutan. Man, I had a lot of junk, man, a lot of it. Like we would just, and we had it on VHS, so we would dub the VHS and give it to our buddies. So like, I mean, those were the good old days.
And who are some of the guys you're working with? I know Paul Rodriguez and Chad Saunders, some of these guys. You had your own
Yeah, it
little.
was Paul Rodriguez, Chad Saunders. Um, and this was like way back in the day. Like afterwards, like so when I first got started, that was like the crew. A guy named Steve Stravelli, who's actually still he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu now, still doing his thing down in South Florida. But whew. And then when I moved to Orlando a few years later, I mean, but still in the early days, don't get me wrong. Then it was like Ben Saunders, um, Seth Petrozelli, you know, Mike Lee, these cats. Like, so like it was, and I like, they're all like, some of them cats don't know about them now, but they're coaching now. Like Mike Lee and Seth Petrozelli coach Felicia Spencer, Mike Cardoso, who's actually a ref in Florida. So like, yeah, man, we go back, man. It's hard to think back of those days, man, and not get a little sentimental.
Yeah, and was Jamie Levine managing you, or was he just kind of promoter that you fought in a show?
No, Jamie Levine, he managed me and he ran the show. So like, back then it seemed like kind of a scumbag thing to do, but it's actually the boxing model. So he was the promoter, and he managed me. So like he got me my fights in his shows, but he didn't really. He didn't really try to look out for me in this show neither. Like he was really, putting me up. I mean, that's why I fought Jens Pulver. So it wasn't like he was just trying to feed me bums, really. I mean, I did fight a couple bums, don't get me wrong. But I mean, he was looking for a good fight regardless. But Jamie Levine was back then, and I mean, looking back and seeing his character, like a lot of people hated on him back then, but I mean, he's really no different than a lot of promoters now. And he was kind of a trendsetter. I mean, he really was one of the first guys to really put the shit together.
Do you remember when you met him? Like, kind of
Yeah, I remember
how
exactly
did
how
that happen?
because he threw a show in Orlando, a tournament, and I fought in that tournament. It was a 4-man tournament. Myself, Mike Lee, P.D. Cook, and Scott Bills. And P.D. Cook had beaten Mike Lee, but P.D. Cook hurt himself, so they pulled a guy out of the crowd to fight me in the finals. I ended up beating some guy from the crowd. I got $500, and I was the first WEF lightweight champion.
How did they find the guy from the crowd? What they do? Just I mean,
They
TJ
made
used
it.
to do that
They
in
made an
Future Brawl.
announcement.
He'd say, "I got $100. Who wants this?" You know, kind of thing.
Yeah, they made an announcement over like the loud speaker and was like, "Does anybody want to fight in the finals against Dean Thomas?" And his name was Ed Lutz, and he was like, "I'll do it," and he did. It was an easy payday for me.
And what are your memories of Jamie? I mean, like you just said, a lot of people have problems with him, but what were your memories of him?
I mean, he was a fun guy. Like that's one thing you can't deny about him is that he was a fun guy. Like he loved to have fun. He loved to like joke around and play, but he was also a businessman. So like his business, he was going to put it this way, like in terms of business, he was going to eat before you ate. So like that's the way he conducted business. You know, like I don't think he really intentionally meant to like screw a lot of people over. He just would say shit that he couldn't cash in on, that he couldn't really honor. And then when it came down to it, he made sure he ate first, you know, before anybody else. So like that's just, you know, he just wanted to be a big time player, but he ain't really had the money to be a big time player. But like, you know, it's funny because his son, I'm friends with his son on Instagram, Cody. And I remember his son when he was 6. His son actually gave me my nickname, the Dominator, way back then. And his son now boxes and he trains in Miami. And he's a good kid. So like I keep in touch with his son. But Jamie Levine, he wasn't the snake that we thought he was. I mean, he was an all right dude, man.
And you know, what did you think about when his life kind of came to pass like that? Were you still talking to him at all? I mean, I know he got locked up, but
No, I wasn't. Like when all that went down with him, like he got in trouble. He got locked up for like allegedly messing with some young girl. So like he had gotten in some serious trouble. But by this time, man, I wasn't talking to him or dealing with him. So like I just, for me, you know, the way I live my life, man, I meet so many people and I like to have so many different experiences. It's almost like when somebody's out of my life, they're just out of my life. And at that time, Jamie was out of my life. So like sometimes he would call, I wouldn't answer, I wouldn't return his calls. I just didn't want nothing to do with him. And I mean, now I kind of regret it, you know, now that he's gone. But hey, I'm friends with his son, so there we go.
yeah, I mean, he wasn't involved in an MMA anymore. I mean, right? He had kind of fallen off the
No,
map as far as that had gone.
no, I mean he was too young back then.
No, I mean Jamie. At the time that he
Oh,
kind of got in trouble, he wasn't involved in anything.
oh no. He might. I mean, I don't even know what he was doing by that time. I think he was just trying to survive because like he had gotten like all that trouble, and people at MMA didn't want to deal with him no more. So he was really just trying to survive. I think he might have been working with his uncle doing dentistry at his uncle's dentistry. So yeah, he for sure wasn't involved with MMA at that time.
So, kind of tell me about Dan Lambert because I know you kind of met him in the beginnings of American Top Team, and you know, like Binky has told me, Dan Lambert's really kind of the guy that kind of the unsung hero of the UFC that a lot of people don't even realize. Can you
Yeah,
kind of
I
tell me
mean
some
Dan
of that?
Lambert he really is like he's probably responsible for helping more careers than any single person other than Dana White in the world. I mean, Dan Lambert has really, from day one in the beginning, has helped so many people, giving them money, giving them opportunities, giving them chances in order to make it in their career. And I mean, he helped me out. Like if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have made it. I mean, he got me an apartment in South Florida so I could live. He gave us money to eat. I mean, supplied an environment for everybody. I mean, now he's kind of focuses his time to American Top Team, but back then, I mean, he really helped a lot of people, like whether they were top team or just like struggling fighters. Like Dan Lambert was responsible for really getting a lot of guys out of the gutter.
And what did he do for a career? What was he doing before then?
He was he does timeshares. He did time. I don't know if he still does it, but I mean, he was involved in timeshares. Like he sold timeshares. So like his business, like when his business was doing good, like we were eating good. Well, I'm telling you, like we was taking, like we would go to hook and shoot events in private planes. Like Dan would hook us up with private planes, get us all big ass hotel rooms. We was eating good back then, man, because his business was doing good.
So it kind of changed a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, when the sport started to grow, the team got bigger. So then, on a personal level, like we weren't really getting taken care of the same way. And not that that was wrong. I mean, that's what we wanted was a big team. So the team got bigger. And as the team got bigger, like instead of putting money into individual fighters, he still did, but he put it into the team. And he built the team, American Top Team. So like that's really what he focused on was building the team. And I mean, it paid his dividends. I mean, now, American Top Team is one of the best gyms in the world. So, I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, and who were some of the fighters like you were more that was kind of in the beginning of your coaching phase, right?
When in the beginning of my coaching phase,
With American Top Team, or were you still fighting a lot
no, I was still fighting. I was still fighting. So like I didn't start coaching there until like 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh.
When we had all that beef with the Black Zillions, they brought me in to be a coach for that. So then I stuck around.
And who were some of the fighters you were working with primarily, or were you just working with all of them?
Really, all of them. Like when I first started coaching for American Top Team, like I said, it was when we did the Ultimate Fighter season 21. So like Haider Hassan, I used to work a lot with Haider Hassan, Steve Carl. Jeez, who else was on our team? It's hard to even remember some of the guys that were on the team. There was so many of them at that time. I don't know, just a gang of welterweights, Euros. I can't even remember his last name, but there's a gang of welterweights that we had on the team that I used to just work with. And then after that season was done, I started working with, just random guys on the team. I worked with Nick Lentz a little bit and just a little bit of everybody, man. Like that was kind of my job, was just to like see who needed help and just help them out.
Yeah, I kind of wondered how that was because I know it's such a big team and you got a lot of coaches there. How does that dynamic work as far as?
Well, back then it was kind of a free for all. It's a lot more organized now, but back then it was just kind of like, these are the coaches, these are the fighters, help yourself. But then they organized it a little bit better to where now fighters have specific coaches that they can vibe with and they can develop some sort of camaraderie with. So it's a little bit more organized now, but back then it was just kind of a free for all, man. It was like, in fact, like I remember working with Melvin Gillard for a long time, and that was kind of a nightmare because like I felt like I was trapped. I was forced to work with him, and it was kind of a nightmare because like he was a hard dude to work with at times.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty talented, but it didn't work for him for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean he was a talented dude, like very physical, very picked up things relatively quickly. Athletic as all hell, strong as all hell, but like it was just kind of unreliable and he would kind of bullshit you every once in a while. So you probably felt like you were being bullshitted. And I would just be like, dude, I don't really give a shit. Just tell me the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You want to show up or not?
So what do you think about like, I know when you have a big team like that and eventually guys have to fight each other, like you had this dynamic with Colby, kind of trashing other guys on the team. What did you think about that stuff when it happened?
I mean, I thought it was wrong. I mean, times like that, you need to keep it kind of professional because, we are all supposed to be representing the same flag. And it really kind of hit home when Tyron fought Robbie Lawler. We talked about it. They were like, man, it's all good. Tyron can come down here. We don't care. We're all the same team. It's a win-win for all of us. But then when it kind of happened, it got sour, man. Like, guys' feelings got hurt. So, I mean, that was kind of the start of it. And then we just decided to kind of do our own thing elsewhere with Tyron. Then, then when Colby came up into the scene and started bad mouthing Dustin Poirier and Jorge Masvidal, like that's when it got really bad, and they just decided to split ways with Kobe, and then made a new rule. They're like, hey, listen, no more trash talking your teammates. It's a bad look for the team to have that.
Yeah, but when you have a team that's so big, it's inevitable that some are going to face off. It creates a difficulty, doesn't it?
Yeah, but you know what? At the end of the day, man, like it's all a money game. Like you want to try to get money. So it's all like for me, I would rather fight somebody that I know and like to help them make money. Like that's why like Khabib and like Khabib fighting Conor again. Khabib was like, I'm not going to fight him again because I don't want to help him make money. And that's the way I saw the game too. Like I would much rather fight a dude that I like, a dude that's my friend, to help him make some money. We could have a little playful trash talk if y'all want, but at the end of the day, we just trying to make money together. We're business partners. And fighters need to look at it like that. Like guys, the top team need to look at it like that. We're business partners. We about to get paid together.
Yeah, but it's hard. I mean, some of these guys don't look at the sport that way. They look at it more
Some of them,
personal.
and a lot of fighters are sensitive too. So like they take everything personally because they're very sensitive, and they can't see past it. They can't compartmentalize like the idea of fighting somebody and then also trying to make money from it. So like they just they have problems with that.
But didn't the whole split with Black Zillions wasn't some of that involved with that? They wanted to do their own, you know.
Well, the Black Zillions leaving top team in the beginning.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It didn't have anything to do with like. They just wanted. The thing was, they just wanted more. Like a lot of them guys just wanted more. Like I said in the beginning, we were getting taken care of, like on a personal level. Like Dan was hooking everybody up. Then when the team got big, that kind of stopped. It went away. And then like the Black Zillion guy, Glenn Robinson, came along and then offered these guys that type of lifestyle and was like, hey, I'll take care of you the way Dan used to take care of you. And they were like, peace, I'm out. And that's kind of how it happened. It wasn't like it was beef. They were just like, Glenn Robinson came along and offered them money. And they were like, all right, peace.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like you can have this big team, but there's always going to be these kind of maybe divides of some sort, So I always thought that was kind of like it. And you kind of split from American Top Team, didn't you?
Yeah, I just, like I'm at an age now where I just wanted to do my own thing, man. Like we talked about earlier, like it wasn't a hard transition for you to go from Hawaii to Oklahoma because like you at an age now where it's cool. So for me, like I'm at an age where like I don't want to be around all that rah-rah, these arguing, crazy Brazilian dudes, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't want that no more. So I was like, you know what? Peace, I'm out. And I just bounced, man. I wanted to do my own thing and run it my own way.
Yeah. So are you running it in Florida, or are you kind of, how are
I'm
you
still
doing
in
that?
Florida. I'm still in Florida. I just, I train out of my house now. I just converted my garage into a training facility, and I just train a couple of people, but I give them all my attention though. So like, I have good chemistry with my people, and and that's it, man. And, I don't really mess with a lot of people, but so we're kind of freelancing. Like we do go around to different gyms and just kind of freelance, man, and just kind of like when I started, you know what I'm saying? Like when I got started, just doing it on our own. So like I kind of went full circle.
And one of those people is Jillian Robinson or Robertson, right?
Yeah, Jillian Robertson. Like she's from my hometown, so like I kind of got a special soft spot for her because she's from my hometown and she's really like the most dedicated, hardworking person I know, man. Like she's incredibly dedicated to her craft. So like I really give her everything I got because like she's willing to fucking just be like, yo, let's train, let's do it. So I'm like, let's go.
How would you compare to someone like maybe like Nunez or other people you've worked with that are?
I mean, like the thing is, like Amanda is like a world-class athlete. Like, and you can see that as soon as she steps on the mat, like just the way she walks. I mean, she's got bounce in her step, and she can jump high and run fast, and like she's a great athlete. Jillian don't have any of that. Like Jillian's not an athlete. She's never played a sport. Like she comes from a background of she wanted to be a veterinarian. Somehow she found fighting and fell in love with it. So like this is the first athletic endeavor she's ever had. So it's a little harder to work with her because like she just doesn't pick things up fast. But like I said, in terms of her work ethic, like she's got more work ethic than all of them combined. Like, and that's not a knock against like Amanda and them. It's just they don't have to work as hard because they pick it up like this. Like Jillian doesn't pick things up like that. She's got to work at it.
But how do you develop her in the UFC where they're just going to throw whoever? They'll put her against whoever.
Yeah, but that's how she is, man. She'll fight anybody. Like she'll never turn down a fight, no matter what. Like it'll be like she just fought, and they're like, "You want to fight this girl?" She'll be like, "All right." Like I think like she feels like it's her duty because she trains to test it. So like, and I can really appreciate that about her, man, because she's not afraid of anybody.
So what do you see for her maybe in the next year or two?
I'm hoping, like she can get on a run. Like, but that's the thing with her is because she's not a natural. Like she has to get into a rhythm. So like that's why she wants to fight all the time, and like she competes a lot in grappling tournaments. And the more she does that, the better she gets in a rhythm. So like I just want to keep it going. So like I want to keep her busy, whether win or lose, keep her busy because once she gets winning, she can compound on that and just start rolling with that. So like, she's fighting this weekend coming up, so hopefully that goes well, and hopefully we can get a quick turnaround, or if not a quick turnaround, a grappling match, or just whatever, man, just to keep her busy and active.
What did you think of Conejo last night? And did you watch the fights last night?
Yeah, I did. Which fight was that?
She was the one who kept getting in the case of Gatami, like the scarf hold over and over again. The Mexican fighter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know her. She actually beat a fighter that I trained, Janessa. Yeah, that girl's tough, man.
Yeah, I thought, what did you think about? She kind of got into the position, but maybe she wasn't.
Well, that's her
Using the
strong.
Japanese pinning combinations to maybe get the finish a little bit better.
Yeah, well, that's she does that. Because when I watched her fight before, but like I said, when she fought a girl that I used to train, that's her move, man. Like she goes to that. Like that's her go-to move. So I mean, it doesn't surprise me that she was really trying to hit that scarf hold and make that work for her. But if that's your move, everybody knows that's your move. So like there's they're going to have a defense for that. So like that's she's going to struggle with that at the UFC level, trying to nail that down. But unless she can really disguise it with something else.
Yeah, I think a lot of people didn't understand that position, or just stuff that I was reading. People were like, thinking it was a basic headlock, but there's little technical nuances depending the opponent in that position, to where they can't get their legs back in and things like that. Why do you think she was having a little bit of trouble finishing?
I just think it because, at the UFC level, I think that and I know Cheyenne too. I think they probably studied her and knew that she was going to do that, and they just worked on a lot of defense for it. So I think that was the case, man. That at that level, it's hard to get away with your tricks for so long before everybody starts to figure them out. So you got to disguise them a little bit better, have some different tricks, and then you can come back to it. But that's a strong position for her. She shouldn't lose it or get away from it. She just has to disguise it a little better and add some different things to it.
Yeah. So let's kind of talk a little bit more about your fighting career, because maybe not particular fights, but let's kind of talk about like when you fought in Hawaii. When I first met you, what were your impressions about fighting in Super Brawl?
Oh man, I loved it. I mean, honestly, like I passed up fighting in the UFC for the title to fight in Super Brawl they asked me to fight Jens Pulver in the UFC for the title, and I said, hell no. I want to go to Hawaii and fight in Super Bro. And that was probably one of the best trips I've ever had. You know, we was hanging out in Hawaii, riding motor scooters, and you know, just everything about Hawaii was like love. Like something about it was just like a beautiful, like the aura of the place was just beautiful, and the event was great. I had a great time in Hawaii. Like every time I go to Hawaii, I've been to Hawaii a couple of times since, but that might have been my best trip to Hawaii. It was the first time I fought there.
But you got a lot of major heat. I thought we'd see you again. Why do we never see you again?
Oh yeah, but for whatever reason, like, you know, I was talking a little shit afterwards on the mic, and then you know, Hawaiians, they started booing me and throwing beer on me and stuff, but then I realized that's just their culture, man. Like they don't let you know, Americans come over there talking trash, and I get it. So I understood it now, and then I was like, you know what, they're right. Like I'm an outsider. What am I doing coming over here talking trash? So I get it, and I'm sure a lot of American soldiers probably do that. You know, go over there and give you know, mainlanders a bad reputation. So I get it.
But I mean, TJ Thompson was able to do a lot with Mayhem Miller because that's kind of what he did. And eventually they kind of embraced him. But that's what he was doing after his fights initially. So I thought we'd see you again. I was like, TJ would probably bring this guy back, and a lot of people come out and to boo him.
Yeah, I
But we
don't
never
you know
saw
what?
you again. What happened?
I'm not sure what happened, man. Like I don't know why I didn't go back. Well, like I went out there to corner Dustin Dennis when he fought, and then I went out there, and then I just went out there recently with Dana and Matt on looking for a fight, but that was last year. But the only other time I went out there was to corner somebody, but I don't know why TJ didn't bring me out there to fight.
Because, I mean,
I would have.
fighting
What's that?
the Bozo fight, that was a pretty important fight at the time.
It was. I mean, and Bozo hit me harder than anybody that's ever hit me. I mean, Bozo had some pop.
Yeah, so I mean, when you came, that was a pretty big win. So I thought, you know, we'll probably see you there again, and it just never materialized. And I always wondered why that was.
Yeah, I don't know. I think because I don't know. I probably just at that time. I think then after that, I think I fought in Shudo again, and then I think I went right to the UFC after that. So that kind of, I think that kind of tied me up.
So tell me about like your first fight in Shudo. You go to Crockwin Hall. What did you think of all that?
Oh,
Just the
that was pretty
experience.
surreal. That was pretty surreal because, you know, getting started in fighting, like that was my goal, was to fight in Japan. Like that was it. Like it wasn't UFC like it is, you know, like these kids today. It was like to fight in Japan. So it's pretty surreal just to have the opportunity to go. And I fought Uno my first time over there, and like I said, I didn't know what to expect. I was there by myself, and Ryan Bowe, bless his heart, you know, Ryan. I don't even know if he's alive now. I don't know what that kid is up to these days. But
He's in Seattle. He has a gym. Fight Gods is what it's called.
oh, that's for real.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Ryan Bowe was my corner. Like I met him over there, and he was my corner. And then and I lost the fight, but I mean it was a good experience, man, to get over there. Like those experiences, like you couldn't pay for those experiences. They're invaluable experiences that I just 100% appreciate.
But I mean, for people, most people have never been to Karakwan Hall, especially new fans. Tell them about Karakwan Hall, because you know I always
I,
ask fighters that have fought there, describe this place, because it's
it's
special.
legendary. I mean, it's legendary. Like I remember, like you seen it on TV, like on video, and like man, you want to go there. And then when you get there, it's like like it's next to the Tokyo Dome, so like you're surrounded by the Tokyo Dome, and the Tokyo Dome is like this big, you know, complex that has like an amusement park and all that stuff. And then off on the side, there's the Kirakuen Hall, this small little place, this legendary for what was probably the best fighters in Japan and the most realistic organization in Japan, because at that time Shudo was the place to be, because all the other organizations didn't have the reputation that Shudo had, like Pancrase and all that. They had reputations of having works, but Shudo they prided itself off of being a real organization with real fighters with integrity. So there was a sense of pride about fighting in Shudo and fighting at the Kyokuin Hall. Even as small as it was, there was a sense of integrity, and you were proud to have fought there. And like, and just being inside that place was just was surreal. And it was the first time where, because at that time, like, Japanese MMA it wasn't even called MMA back then, but they were way far advanced than the US. And I remember it was the first time I've ever been to a place where all the fighters were inside the ring before the fight, warming up and working out. And I was looking at these guys like, man, these guys are really good. Because like, compared to the States, guys were still like just either wrestlers or doing, or boxers, and they just weren't that good. But back in 1999, I remember going to the Kyokuin Hall and seeing all the fighters inside that ring. They were inside the ring warming up, and I was in awe, like, man, they all can wrestle, they all can strike, they all had good submissions, and I was like, damn. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna compete with these guys, but they were all really good.
Yeah, I think that's what made them unique. I think that's why they had so much success because they were, like Barrett kind of said when he fought Mamoru. Mamoru was already well rounded, and that's kind of what he
Yeah,
remembered fighting in Shuto. These guys are already well rounded when most people weren't.
that's what it was, man. Like, like going to the States, like everybody was so one dimensional, but over there, like everybody was well rounded. And like that, it was the first time I had ever seen that. And it was the first time I had ever seen like them treat it as such a sport where like they were all in the cage or in the ring together warming up. But like in the States, it was everybody mean mugging each other, and and nobody wanted to talk to each other, and everybody was mad at each other, and everybody sucked. So it was such a big difference. It was like they were way ahead of their time.
Now, how did you end up on the show with Dana White, the Looking for a Fight? How did that happen?
Well, I was coaching at Top Team, and I was actually coaching Amanda. She was about to fight Misha Tate, and the show had been going on for maybe, I think, maybe a year or two, and the guy who was on the show got kicked off for whatever reason. He had a beef with Dana and got kicked off. So, like I said, I was in the gym coaching Amanda, and I got a phone call from from a 702 number, a Vegas number, and I was like, I don't know anybody in Vegas. I didn't answer it. So then Matt Sarah calls me. He's like, yo, man, Dana's calling you. He's looking for you. And I'm like, oh no, what did I do now? Like, I'm in trouble. So then he calls back and I answer it, and he's like, yo, you ever seen the show Looking for a Fight? And I was like, yeah. And I didn't ever seen it. I just said that. And then he says, yeah, well, we got a spot open. You want it? And I was like, of course I want it. And he's like, the catch is you got to leave tomorrow. And I was like, perfect. I got a bag packed in the car. Just send me a ticket. They did, and I left the next day, and I was on the show.
But did he have like some close relationship with you? Is that why he chose you?
No, he really, it was Matt. I got to give him, Matt Sarah. And like me and Matt Sarah have always been good friends, but I would never expect Matt to like have vouch for me at that point, because I probably hadn't talked to him in like a year or two. But Matt, they were like, yo, who can we get to do the show? And Matt was like, man, Dean, I'm sure he's available. And I was available. And boom, resurrection.
And what did that show do for you?
I mean, it just really put me back in the scene. I mean, it really did put me back in the scene. I was just coaching, and I mean, coaching is fun, but the problem with coaching is that you have a choice to make. You can either treat it as a job, or you can live vicariously through your fighters. But for me, like, I like to think of myself as an artist, and I have to express myself as well. So like, there was no outlet for me. So I'm putting all my energy into other people, coaching them, and I had no outlet. So getting on this show provided me an outlet that I can, for myself, as opposed to putting all my energy into the fighters. So I had my own outlet. So getting on this show gave me an outlet, and now it's giving me a tremendous amount of opportunity. Now I'm working the desk as an analyst for UFC, and I got my own little spin-off show the Dean Diaries. So like I got now I can put some energy back into me as opposed to everybody else.
Yeah, you kind of just started doing the desk stuff. How do you think that
Yeah,
went?
I thought it went okay. Like I'm pretty comfortable in front of a camera and under the lights, just from you know doing it. My entire half my life. I always had a great respect for that while I was fighting. I always knew the importance of being able to speak and be camera friendly. So I thought that went well. I mean, some of the technical stuff I got to get better at. I get used to it, but I thought for my first run, I thought it was okay.
Like they tell you, okay, we're gonna have you do more of this, or do you have any idea what your schedule is? Or
So I don't know. I know that they said they're gonna give me some more cracks at it. They understand. They know that we don't fighters don't they don't have a school. We don't go to school for this. So like they know that the only way to get good at it is to just get in there and do it and get reps. And they know the work ethic of most fighters is pretty tough. So they know that I'm gonna put the work in and get out there and do it.
I just want to ask a couple more things. One thing I know we talked about Amanda a little bit, but maybe you could kind of expand on that. You've worked with her a lot. What kind of things do you think make her special beyond just like her athletic ability and things?
She's got supreme confidence. Like her confidence is out the roof, and I don't know where that comes from, but or when it hit, because like as soon as it hit, I think it was like right after she won the title, because she was always good, but like right after she won the title, she was like, "This is what I'm doing, and nobody's gonna beat me." And it's whatever it is in her head, told her she was the best in the world. She believed it, and she proved it. So I think that's what separates her from everybody else, is that her confidence is supreme and it's real. Like some people talk a big game, but I think they're just trying to convince themselves that they're good. She believes it, and it shows.
Yeah, I think the Brazilians are kind of like the Japanese were early in women fighting. I think like as a collective, they're a little more advanced. Do you think so?
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. Just because I think they've been around it longer. You know, they've just been around it longer, and yeah, I mean, I've really that has to be it. Really, they've just been around it longer. When you look at some of these girls, like right now, like the flyweight division in the UFC, the women's flyweight division has two girls like that are just like they're kind of dark horses, man. Viviane Araujo and Talia Santos. I mean, these girls are the real deal. I mean, they're solid, and and all the other girls in the division know it too. They're all kind of like, we better watch out for these girls. But and they're not even, Viviani's. I think she's just ranked in the top 10 now. But trust me, they're really solid, man. And and it just, you could see their experience you know from just being around it for a long time.
Yeah, another thing I know you did some things for mental health. You did the bike ride and those things.
Yeah,
Why did that become something that you wanted to focus on?
you know, mental health in MMA is a big thing. I think that it's often underserved and overlooked. A lot of people look at they just see fighters and just expect them to be tough and just to gut things out. But dealing with fighters, my entire life, mostly, more than half my life, most of them aren't fully there, which is why they get into it. And then when they get into it, it's such a hard life that it gets worse. And a lot of them aren't healthy mentally. So I wanted to shed some light on this and just really open up people's eyes towards mental health, and let fighters know that you got to take care of yourself, and you can't do it with violence, because that's kind of the way we do it. It's like, oh, we have a problem, violence. Go to the gym and punch the bag. But there are healthier ways to deal with it. So I wanted to kind of shed some light on that.
Yeah, and I know you've known Chad so long. Chad Saunders. And
Yeah, that's a perfect case. I mean, here's a kid who he was so talented early on, and and then we didn't even know that he was probably dealing with mental health. Just because like it's not something we talked about. This was I mean obviously 10, 15 years ago, but he ended up putting a couple of bullets in himself because he couldn't deal with it, and I watched him spiral downwards. After a loss that he couldn't deal with, and his life just kind of spiraled downwards until he took his own life, and it's a sad case. And every so often you hear about these, an MMA guy who just kind of loses it. Like the kid just recently stabbed his sisters, and they vouch for him that he has mental issues, and nobody wants to talk about it because they're fighters. Just go to the gym and hit the bag and brush it off, but that doesn't work. It requires therapy and and a lot more work than just hitting the bag and brushing it off.
well, Dean, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this. Is there anything someone listening to this that you want to maybe leave them with, or something you wanted to talk about that you've been doing?
Well, I'm gonna give you a shout out, Todd, because like a lot of people might not know how long you've been in the game for. I mean, Todd, you've been in the game since day one, and not a lot of people might not know it. And like it's to me, when I see all these guys in the game, I always, I just go, man, you don't know what the game is about because you ain't even been in it. And when I see guys like you still involved, and like these new jacks come in, like they may not give you your respect, and they need to give you your respect because you've been in the game just as long as anybody. You know what I'm saying? So, if y'all out there, y'all better recognize Todd been in the game since day one.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. What's something that you're up to that maybe you'd like for people to, or something you could plug or talk about?
Well, I'm probably gonna be filming another episode of the Dean Diaries coming up. We're working on that. If and I know I'm gonna be working a desk soon, and I'm doing another episode of Fight Party too. So, and you know what? And I got a lot of podcasts too that y'all can catch me on. I'm on the Serious MMA podcast on Serious, and then I do a podcast with TJ DeSantis on Fight Pass, and that's the extra round. So, and then I'm on the radio, ESPN West Palm. You can plug that in too. So, I do a lot of different things, man. I'm all over the place.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. It was great talking to you again. It's been a long time.
All right, my man. You take it easy, man. I'll catch up with you.
Yeah, take care and good luck to you and Jillian Robertson and everything.
All right, man. Peace
I
out.
appreciate it. Take care.